Hello guys, today I'll be talking about three albums that take me back to elementary school. Basically take me back to that time in my life, whether it be my music taste at that time or a certain moment that happened during when I was in elementary school, or if it just brings back certain memories and stuff like that. But of course, there are many other albums I could have talked about here, such as Slipknot's debut or System of a Down's Toxicity. What else? Probably Korn's debut or Follow the Leader or even Issues. And of course, many other albums, but I decided to just narrow it down to three albums. Now, this is not a top three or anything. Again, these are three albums that I randomly chose that have a good number of songs that really remind me of elementary school or really take me back to that time. But, anyways, let's go ahead and dive into these three albums. The first one I want to talk about is 3 Days Grace's self-titled debut. This album was my introduction to 3 Days Grace. This was 2009, I believe, and of course this album came out in 2003, and I believe I became a fan like a few months after Life Starts Now came out or something like that. But basically the story is that I was in my fourth grade class. One of my friends had the CD with them for some reason, and they let me look at the CD and then the booklet and all that, and I thought the stuff was kind of cool, I guess you could say. And after when I got home, I decided to check out the album, and I was a fan ever since. I was hooked ever since. And now I do think this is not their best, but it's definitely one of their best. It's my second favorite 3 Days Grace album, 1X being at the top for me personally, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that either. But yeah, many great songs on this album. You got songs like Burn, Just Like You, I Hate Everything About You, Home. You also have the underrated song Drown. That's always been one of my personal favorites from the album. Even when I was younger, I don't know what it is about that song, but that was always a song that grabbed me more than some of the other tracks in the second half of the album. Now, the second half does have some great stuff, of course. I do like all the songs on the album. Overrated is another song that I really enjoyed too, and Born Like This is kind of an underrated song too, also. But yeah, pretty solid album from 3 Days of Grace, and definitely takes me back to fourth and fifth grade, that area of my life. But anyways, next album I want to talk about is Meteor by Linkin Park. Now, if you've seen some of my Linkin Park related videos, you know that I love this album. It's one of those albums for me where I'd give a 10 out of 10. I mean, this album really opened many doors for me. I mean, both musically and of course the band too, because without this album I don't know if I would have ever discovered Linkin Park. Who knows? But yeah, it was my introduction to the band. Certain songs that I heard first from the album I believe were Numb and From the Inside. I believe those were the first two songs I heard from the album. Those two and Faint, I believe. But there was not a single weak track on this album. But I remember I was hearing From the Inside in my living room, and that really pushed me to check out the rest of the album and put the songs on my iTunes library and then transfer it to my phone and all that. But yeah, this album is just all around excellent and definitely one of the greatest albums to come from the whole nu metal scene. Some people like to say that Linkin Park isn't nu metal, but I mean, if you really listen to those first two or three albums, you can definitely tell it's definitely nu metal. I mean, it's got it all. It has the lyrics, of course, it has the turntables, and even the song lengths definitely scream nu metal. Because when it comes to nu metal, the songs are a bit more shorter. Songs are around like 3 or 4 minutes on average, or maybe 2.5. Usually in that range, but also the album is pretty diverse in my opinion. I mean, songs that help the album be diverse are songs like Nobody's Listening and maybe even Hit the Floor, Easier to Run, because it kind of has its own thing going on with it being a bit more melodic, I guess you could say. But and also, of course, you have the instrumental Session, which is also really good. But again, love this album. But the next album I want to talk about, and the last album, is Around the Fur by Deftones. So I believe it was fifth grade when I discovered Deftones and this album. So that would be like 2010 or 2011, somewhere around there or somewhere in there. I was listening to either Korn or Linkin Park, and I noticed that one of the songs from this album was being recommended, and this was on iTunes, but I believe that song that was recommended under the album as I was listening to it was My Own Summer. I checked out the sample and I really dug it, so I went ahead and checked out the rest of the album, and I was hooked ever since. I mean, this is still easily my favorite Deftones album. Some people point to White Pony as their best, and I definitely understand for sure. That album is in very close second. White Pony is excellent, but this album, I don't know. I guess I have a bit more personal attachment to this album compared to personal attachment to White Pony. But White Pony is still great, of course, and of course one of their best. But this album all around is great. In my opinion, doesn't have a single weak track on it. I do have a least favorite song on the album, that being Died the Flu. It'd either be that one or MX, but even those two songs are really good. I still return to those songs sometimes. But I've always really liked My Own Summer, of course, and Ricketts, I think, is a song that I've always found underrated. Same with Lotion and Labia. But Be Quiet and Drive Far Away. I mean, if I were to recommend Deftones to someone, that would be one of the first few songs that I'd recommend to them, because that song shows how well Deftones can be with balancing melody and heaviness. I mean, that song all around is just excellent and easily one of their best songs in my opinion. And you also have the song Head Up, which features Max Cavalera, so you just can't go wrong with that song, because I mean, it's got Max Cavalera from Sepultura and Soulfly, Nail Bomb, and what's that other band? Cavalera Conspiracy, if I got the name right. He might have been in a few other bands, I can't remember, but yeah, anyways, this album's just all around excellent, and definitely one of their best, and definitely at the top for me personally. But anyways, those are my 3 albums. Let me know some albums that take you back to elementary school or even middle school or high school, whatever piques your interest, and all that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a comment and like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.